Order, order, order. Dynasty Court is now in session. We will be judging these fantasy football players. On the docket today, Drake Maye, David Njoku, and Matthew Golden. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dynasty Six Pack. We are episode 21. This episode will be titled Dynasty Court, part of our summer fun series here, talking Dynasty fantasy football. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Senra. Judge Senra, we'll say. Joining me is Judge Rahul. Rahul, how are you doing today?
Judge Rahul doing well, ready to serve the people, and that's serve them some great Dynasty takes. As usual, every Wednesday, 6:30 Pacific. I guess people say Eastern first, don't they? 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. But doing great. Didn't realize we were in the midst of a Summer of Fun series, so that's good to know now. But I'm very excited for Dynasty Court. I think this is a great concept come up by the Honorable Judge Jamie Perog. Very excited to get into it today.
Well, may as well get to, as you mentioned, the Honorable Judge Jamie, or as those who watched the Parlay FF this week, the Dark Knight of Dynasty, Judge Jamie Perog.
What's up, all you degenerates and Dynasty truthers? Welcome back to the courtroom, where takes get tried and truth gets sentenced. Court is officially in session. Grab your notes, hold your objections, and prepare your rankings for cross-examination.
What a sentence. What a way to intro it. Positive sentence for you, Jamie. But yes, positive sentence for all of you forced to spend time with us here. We're on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel, of course. Also available on a few podcast audio options as well. But yeah, if you are on the YouTube channel, be sure to join us in the comments. Also be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's tons of great content. Mention the Parlay FF show, the flagship Fantasy Six Pack Hour, Joe Bond hosting, creator of Fantasy Six Pack, and they're fully transitioned into fantasy football talk. So all sorts of great content on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel and throughout the Fantasy Six Pack audio podcast universe. Of course, there is the Fantasy Six Pack website, and a lot of great articles will be coming out very shortly. Draft strategy series. We've got 12 different articles, one for each pick. Strategies to take from the 101 spot, the 102 spot, vice versa. I've got 106, 109, and 112 articles to be released in the next couple of weeks. So there'll be tons of great content there. A lot of it for free, but there are, as well as the, you can for free join the Fantasy Six Pack Discord as well, but there are premium perks to both. And we have right now a discount for the all access membership at a reduced price if you use the promo code F6PPODS. F6PPODS. All the letters are capitalized, and it is the Arabic numeral 6, not Roman. You don't need no IVs here, or VRs or VIs, whatever they use in the football soccer world. The VAR. None of that.
VAR.
No, it's no squares. You got a round mallet to play Dynasty Court today. I don't want to bang on the desk, but I won't do that. But I guess anything else that I did miss one thing, actually. The Fantrax partnership with Fantasy Six Pack. I can't forget that. So for full details, check out fantrax.com/fantasy six pack. I know Fantrax is a platform I've used in the past. I think I mentioned this before that we used to have the Canada Cup, a bunch of Canadian fantasy football people. I don't know if Jamie was ever in the Canada Cup, but we definitely had it on Fantrax a couple of years. They didn't consider you enough Canadian, Jamie. I'm so sorry. I do here, Canadian or judge or whatever the title. Fully obliged, Jamie.
Yeah, I only identify as a Canadian. I'm not born Canadian, so still working the kinks out on that one.
Well, I'd say we all work the kinks out on our Scott Fishbowl teams, and we're going to give a final Scott Fishbowl update now that all of our teams are done drafting. Jamie, we're going to start with you. Just you've been able to finish out your strategy here, and we'll go to your and my teams back to back again because again, some common players throughout Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, we both started out with those two. We both had Cam Ward as a quarterback. Now you had him as QB1, and we'll see how my team built out from there. But he was my second quarterback, so I went a lot earlier. You went Ward 1 and a lot later, and you ended up getting 4 quarterbacks. So is there anything that you didn't get to mention last week that you want to talk about this week? Because we did do a pretty big Scott Fishbowl check-in on the previous episode when we played Dynasty Tinder.
Well,
go ahead, Jamie.
Technically, I only got 2.5 quarterbacks. Cam Ward, Geno, and then whoever between Shuck and Rattler. But I didn't plan on going quarterback heavy because quarterbacks don't score a lot in this. There was only 18 quarterbacks last year in the top 100. As you can see, I didn't draft my first one until way after the top 100, and I just got studs. Volume. Everyone on my team in my starting lineup is going to get volume, except for my last flex. I would say between Cooper Kupp, I would have to say, do I want to start Kupp, Henry, maybe Strange has a good matchup that week? I don't know. So I'm going to start all my studs every week and then just go through my bench and find which one I want to start as my last flex. And then you can see I got Roschon Johnson. I can see him being a lot in my lineup because he's going to be a stud. You guys are sleeping on him. Late, I was just going after guys that I thought had upside. Tyler Conklin, he's going to be the number 1 tight end in that offense. I got him super late. Same with Theo Johnson. Michael Mayer, my last pick. If Brock Bowers goes down, Michael Mayer is just going to replace him 1 for 1. So I do like that. Thornton, I only took him in case I needed to stack with Geno.
I do gotta interject, Jamie, because you said a comment that picked up my attention. You said that Tyler Conklin's the number 1 tight end on offense, which has one of the Jamie Perot endorsed favorite rookies as well.
Gaston is one of my favorite rookies that I'm getting free off of waivers, but it's telling if no one's drafting him in the first 4 rounds of rookie drafts, you're getting him off waivers. He's a hold. He's not going to do that much this year. So Conklin, I'm not afraid of Disley. Disley gets hurt all the time. He's not number 1. But I do like that Shipley pick. I'm glad I got him because if Barkley goes down, which is my number 1 pick, I think Shipley is going to be a beast. Not top 5, not number 1 overall, but I could see him being 15, 16 on a weekly basis, maybe top 20.
You could do what Miles Sanders did. Miles Sanders is probably RB 10 to 12 in his last season in Philly. I could easily see Shipley going in. Although it's training camp season and every little bit of news is blasted as the truth. And I saw AJ Dillon actually got the first reps before Shipley, and that was paired to
that won't last long.
That won't last long, in my opinion. But don't rule him out, I guess.
I guess, so a couple of the pushbacks, I'll get to AJ Dillon later, but on the Disley Conklin thing, I'm kind of finalizing my projections right now for target shares and touchdowns, and that's one that's weird because it's crossed with the 2 tight ends. A lot of cases, if there's kind of a split between the 2 tight ends, my projections kind of lean one way or the other. I think I've talked about that with Freiermuth leading Johnny in both target share and touchdown projections, but right now I have it with Conklin with a higher target share, but Disley with more touchdowns. And throughout their career, I feel like that makes sense. Disley, traditionally, even with Seattle when there was a split, he seemed to be the one that would get these spike weeks out of nowhere. He'd the one that get multiple touchdowns, but without a huge base of receptions or targets. Last year was a huge difference. With Justin Herbert, it seemed he was the reliable target-earning tight end. But Conklin's done that more consistently throughout his career at various stops. So I think, Jamie, for this format, it does make sense to kind of view Conklin as the number 1. I expect him to get more catches than Disley. Now, I guess the problem is Conklin is so late that you're probably not going to start him that often, that the weeks you do want to start him, you're probably hoping for those spike weeks, which would make Disley ideally more appealing for that. But again, maybe with this format, push the reception so high, you actually still view the target earner as the guy capable of spike weeks. So all to say, I guess I half agree with the idea of Conklin being the starter over Disley, but when you're talking, what is this, round 19, to get a potential starting tight end, even if it's a cloudy situation with this format, makes sense. So I'm curious, was Disley available, or was this a clear? They're both there, and you're planting your flag on.
I don't even look at Disley. I'm not worried about him. It's
I'm sure. I mean, there's the app. I could probably look it up myself, but
if it's one of my last picks, I'm gonna just throw these guys on the waiver wire and pick other people up. So I don't plan on starting them. I don't even plan on them being on my roster the whole year. But right now, I just saw who was the best player available that I think it could get volume, and I picked them up.
Yeah, that's the way I like seeing it. One of the things I did last year with the Fishbowl was just take shots on anyone that was on the R-Lad depth chart listed as the starter or the second string punt or kick return. I was just, when it came down to the end, anyone who was a return, didn't matter what the position were, but a lot of those bench players, I was just taking shots on random returners. And I hit on Kavontae Turpin super late, and he ended up being like my third best scoring player. Like it was Gibbs, Henry, and then Turpin. You know, he outscored Jonathan Taylor and Kenneth Walker and all my quarterbacks. But not a lot of the other returners I took paid off, but that's okay because I kept just churning. You know, I think Scott Fishbowl's huge with the waivers, so there are going to be spots on your roster where you are just like I could see like Thornton, for instance. I know you said you kind of wanted the stack with Geno, but ultimately he's someone that if he's not getting targets early, I imagine he'll cut after week 1, week 2, and it's nice to take a shot at a rookie here, but it's tough to also hold them. I guess one of my curious comments was how heavy running back you started, and then to go a huge absence without running backs. You went 11 rounds between Chuba Hubbard and Roschon Johnson. So was that something you had in mind? You were just going to hammer running back as early as possible, as often as possible, because you didn't like the mid rounds?
No, I wanted to go a lot of running backs, but while I was on the clock, it didn't make sense for the running backs that were available and skip over the talent that I got, like T. Higgins, Kelsey, Engram, Ridley, Jennings. That late, I don't know who was available, but there's not a guy that I'm going to take like a top of my head, like a Tajay Spears. Oh, am I going to take Tajay Spears over Jennings? Heck no, I'm not going to do that.
Especially since not all running backs get carries in the same way, right? Like Spears is a guy where he gets a lot of receptions. So like to that side, okay, he gets the 2.5 points per reception, but without the huge base of carries potentially, if Pollard gets most of that, he's maybe not as useful as other running backs are. So yeah, I get that, JD. Like it's just, it lined up perfectly in the first 4 rounds, but after that, the ADP just didn't line up for you to take running back. You didn't force the issue.
Yeah, I wanted to go running back heavy. I would have took him if I saw the value, but I'm a value drafter, so I went with it.
Yeah, fair enough. And then so you ended up with only 6 running backs. I'm sure, like beforehand, were you thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have like half my roster be running backs, or get close to 10 potentially?
Or depends on who. Like it depends on who was there. Like if I would have ended up with 2 running backs, I would have been happy, just because I know the guys that I took above Kamara and Hubbard at receiver, I feel they would have been a better choice.
Right. So yeah, just again that talk of running back and when those decisions are, especially over those target earning tight ends. I'll get to that in a second. Rahul, did you have anything else to say about Jamie's team?
No, I think I just what you last said about the value. Completely agree there. Kind of, my team was already done, so I don't think we'll be flashing it up. But I probably have a lot, at least in the early rounds, a lot fewer running backs than the both of you, and that's just because I felt like a lot of those situations, am I going to take a running back that's far down my rankings over like a potential wide receiver one? So I think great team, Jamie, and I think you executed the strategy that we wanted to have very well. And even like that Kelsey Engram double tap like there in the middle, I think just great playing like the format. So
I know a guy went only 1 running back in his whole entire draft, and I liked his team. I liked who he got in his first all the rounds, skipping the running backs, but then he got Roschon Johnson in round 14. I'm like, that's the running back you want. So congrats.
Well, we're going to take a look at my team. So again, the coincidental start, Jamie and I, even though I was at the 102 and Jamie, I think you were at the 106, 107, right in the middle.
Yeah.
We both started Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. It's funny how that ended up falling in those two particular drafts. Didn't quite go 4 running backs in a row, but 5 in my first 6. Talked about that last week. And then something we didn't see much of was how I finished the draft with a ton of running backs. So yeah, 5 in the first 6 rounds, a bit of a gap. And then the random Ramondre Stevenson and Jerome Ford picks. That's kind of like you were saying, like your Cooper Kupp. Like, okay, that'll be maybe 1 or 2 decisions to start every week. But I'm going to try and minimize those types of decisions on who to start and who not to. So I felt like, okay, volume running backs, feel like you're just going to plug in those first 5 guys every week automatically. And then from there, see the back end of the starters. But to kind of go with how many running backs did I end up with? Ultimately, I think I got
13, maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
so the last 6 picks, 5.
It's
Yeah,
13.
it's
It's 13.
Yeah, so more than half my roster ended up being running backs. And it got to a point where I was thinking in the middle rounds, okay, it's kind of how I envisioned it potentially going. As long as there were good, solid running backs to take at good ADPs, I was going to keep taking them. And I guess for Jamie, my draft, people were a little more, I guess, hesitant to take running backs, or they fell a little later than expected. So yeah, that's why I was able to again still get Connor and Aaron Jones even as late as I did. But then things flipped. And I know last week I asked, Jamie, I don't know if you changed your answer. Maybe I should have asked you before we switched. But was there a pick where you maybe regretted it? You made the pick, and then later you're seeing the draft play out, and there were picks were made, and you thought, that's the one where I maybe should have not done that. I know there's one for me.
It was the Kelsey pick where I was going to try to get Sutton next. But when Sutton went, that's when I regretted the Kelsey pick. But then Ingram fell to me, so it was a good consolation prize for me to get Ingram with my next pick.
And I think even if you think Sutton leads the team in targets and Ingram second, it might be close enough that with the format and the tight ends getting the extra point, you might almost prefer Ingram straight up over Sutton, right? By the end of this, like he might outscore him even with less targets, let's say. So I don't think, I mean, I think that might turn out pretty well for you. But, I know for me, my regret also happened with the tight end. So taking David Njoku, it was funny because I was debating Njoku Ingram. I really wanted one of the two of them because I thought at that point there were no like, okay, this running back's clearly going to get most of the work. But there was a running back to maybe take that gamble on, and I maybe could have taken the gamble. So instead of taking David Njoku, taking Caleb Johnson instead.
Yeah, I probably would have done that.
And you see it after I took Njoku and David Smatic, as smart as he is, went Caleb Johnson, Evan Ingram. So it's like, you know what? I almost wanted both those players. I didn't get either. I took David Njoku instead. So I still trust Njoku will get targets and get a lot of catches. And that's why I liked him in the format. Again, I was thinking it was the upside of the tight end getting the 3.5 points per catch versus the risk on Caleb Johnson. Maybe it is a 50-50 split with Warren. And at this point, target earning as an elite target earning tight end is a better option than a split back guy. But if Caleb Johnson takes most of the work, then yeah, he's probably going to be the much better pick. So it's one of those I hemmed and hawed with, and ultimately I went with Njoku, but maybe I should have gone Caleb Johnson. So that's been my one regret. And if it was one less tight end, did one extra running back, go 14 running backs. I mean, that's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah. I don't think I would have gone Caleb as well, but I don't think Njoku in this format is a bad pick. But we'll talk about Njoku a little further later. Kyle,
it is true.
The courtroom.
I draft Caleb went like a full round and a half earlier.
I took Caleb in the mid 6th, and
so
I would say
would have been good value. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I was gonna say that's probably my regret. My regret was more in player takes. And player takes I probably kind of like have flipped on or feel regretful is when I took Joe Mixon over Kenneth Walker. And since that moment, like I think my own attitude is like has flipped. And not to mention that Joe Mixon today or yesterday was put on the NIL, non-football injury list, NFI.
Yeah.
Not NIL. But a second one I made was taking Caleb Johnson over Aaron Jones, specifically kind of in the range where you picked Jones. And that's just one where, okay, like, am I like trusting the rookie, especially over the pass catching running back? So those were more my regrets. I think anywhere I went non-running back, I felt comfortable with the value that I got the player at.
And Derek Buck from Facebook actually asking you guys answering trade questions, and we definitely will.
Of course.
So feel free to ask any. Apparently found the stream, so let's make a good first impression. Yeah, for sure, Derek.
Yeah, put it in the
If
chat.
any questions you want, we'll get to them. Love knowing specifics like format, whether it's scoring settings, but also number of starters. Usually can inform some of those trades, especially when there's an unbalanced number of assets being moved. Just to finish up quickly with my team, back to the quarterback point. So I went Kyler Murray in the 4th round. My approach to here was there was going to be certain quarterbacks I was just going to cut off the list, even if they're starters. And that came up late. Like I had a chance to take Joe Flacco at several of those, like in that big stretch of running backs. Go Joe Flacco. And every time he's not good for the format. Why should I do this? He might not even get the starting job. So I kept, eventually someone else took him. But I think maybe there's a couple of Browns quarterbacks still available as free agents I can pick up. So ultimately, like I was looking at Murray as being one of the true elite with some upside in terms of touchdowns, but certainly rushing yard accumulators. So I liked going him in the 4th. Technically stacked him with James Conner, and I guess here it's you stack all the carries together, right? So it's more than the pass catching reception. And then I thought Cam Ward. I know Rahul. You'll say he's an elite producer in college, so he's got tons of rushing upside. The FCS years doesn't point to that as much. I think he averaged about 10 rushing yards a game. Not quite elite. But
I wouldn't say elite. I have to clear my name there. I wouldn't say it's more like the profile.
I think you meant the overall production of touchdowns and
passing. Yes. Yeah.
Production.
That is the college football touchdown leader, Cam Ward, actually.
If you include the FCS stuff or FCS, I think I said it wrong earlier. But however, rookies tend to run more than they do like later in their career. Right?
That's a good stat.
Things out, they're maybe not gonna, especially like his offense. Like, why wouldn't it be just a 1-2 read run? Right? Like, who else does he have to look through in an offense? You got Calvin Ridley and maybe your second read on the play and then go. So I took the gamble. I took him earlier than maybe I would have some others in a normal fantasy league, thinking he might run more than Tua or Goff or whoever was going in that range. Geno Smith, a couple guys I took him over. I know, Jamie, you obviously went Ward over Smith. And because I took my 2 starters, and then again, I never felt pressure to force it because I didn't like any of the other quarterback skill sets. So I ended up finishing the draft with only 2 quarterbacks. But I feel okay with it as long as Kyler Murray produces like we expect. I mean, he's my 4th round pick. So if Kyler Murray disappoints, it hurts my team regardless. But like the format kind of hinges on that of really thin at quarterback. So I decided to just take that approach and just only draft 2 quarterbacks. So we'll see if that comes back to bite me or not. But yeah, I loved just hammering all the backup running backs I could. I ended up with both Colts running backs. So I fully handcuffed Taylor with DJ Gittins and later Khalil Herbert. So I super solidified that backfield. And if AJ Dillon is truly the backup to Barkley, I've got him. So Jamie, that's where Jamie and I deviated. I went the AJ Dillon route. Now Shipley went ahead. So he went ahead of where I took Gittins, like just a few picks before. Would have loved to get both Eagles there and then maybe Gittins the next run and with Herbert and just get all 4 backup running backs for my first 2 picks. Didn't quite work out with Shipley, but I managed to do it with the Colts, managed to get AJ Dillon. So we'll see who ends up being right there. Now,
so let's answer this question in the chat real quick.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, here it is. Yeah. All right. So Jared Goff and 3 firsts for Jaden Daniels, Dynasty League. Thanks. You can also guess Superflex.
Yeah, it's got to be Superflex, obviously.
He wants Daniels. Is that too much to give up?
I don't think it's a lot. It depends on where those first fall.
And also,
you're going to be a contender.
If they're your own future 3 firsts, I would not do that. But if you have an excess of firsts, it's starting to become palatable because, like, I don't know. I would like to break it down. I don't like. I assume whether you guys would agree or not, but I don't really like receiving that many firsts. I'd rather like convert a portion of that into a player, an established player. So maybe you could break that down like a Puka Nakua plus Goff, like 3 firsts, like probably buys you Puka Nakua. Puka and Goff, like at that point, like perhaps like it's palatable to go up to Daniels, who's potentially going to be like the #1 overall player in Dynasty, if not for some already, for many years to come. You would think so. That's like what you have to pay for like those kinds of assets. It's probably a little more context, like with how late the first, if they're your first, like that could alter like that decision. I don't know what you guys think about
also,
that.
like, has the rookie draft happened or some of these first this year? Because I'm a lot more willing to trade 25 first right now. And okay, what are the rookies going to give me as opposed to that future flexibility? Because like at this point, I'd rather give up a 25 first than give up a 26 first. Because that 26 first, I might want to use it in season. Or if things go wrong, I might prefer that next year. So
that's a good point.
You're giving up a lot of ammo with those 3 firsts, especially in the 2027 draft. You could use those 3 firsts to move up to get an elite Jeremiah Smith or like the Williams guy. Like there's going to be 3 stud wide receivers. Next year, there's going to be 5 first-round quarterbacks. So if you're in a win now situation, I would just keep Goff and then just build around with quarterbacks next year with those first. I know Daniels is elite. People look at him as top 2, top 3, even #1.
His own next 3 firsts.
Oh, man.
And again, is that going to 28 or is that 25, 26, 27? If it's that, it's a little easier to do. But yeah, like 26, 27, 28 firsts.
You're kind of giving up your future to get like between Goff and Daniels. I mean, that's points per game. That's probably not that much.
It could be.
It could be a lot. It could be enough that it's worth it. But
I'll say it's even 5 points per game. You're giving up your future for it.
No, I think it's also, and I'm not even so concerned with the future, like the potential of it being Jeremiah Smith, because the way I see it, if this team you feel like you're a good contender and you can absorb, so my biggest worry is, giving up your next 3 first. So assuming the 25 drafts already happened, if something goes wrong. If you think your team is good, but something happens in season and you want to fix it, you don't necessarily have the ammo. Now, if you still have all your other picks, and you think you can make some other trades to accumulate other picks, even if it's not extra first, but like having 2 seconds might help you get something. Like that's just the one concern for the next 3 years. You really can't fix your team. So, like if you're doing this, it's because Daniels puts you over the edge. You've already got another solid quarterback, and you're just like, okay, I want a better QB2 than Goff. Like I want someone where I'm plugging Daniels points into my lineup over Goff, and it's making a significant difference. Like
also, come over to
you
YouTube
can win the title in the next.
Check out the YouTube channel. Yeah. Instead of being on Facebook.
If you think you can win this year, then I'd consider it. But if you really are still thinking the future with this move, then you probably shouldn't, because like those future picks will help you more. Because like I know Jamie, you brought up Jeremiah Smith and like him and Ryan Williams. I think I'd rather have Jaden Daniels. So like I'm not necessarily, to me, it's not the hope of one specific player. But 3 first is a lot of flexibility to be able to do future moves. So it's not even who you miss out on player-wise, but it's just if something goes wrong along the way over the next 3 years, you might not be able to fix it. And if you suddenly have to like have a really bad year, then that's when that one pick could really push itself up. And you might.
And then again, if those 3 first are 108 to 112, you're getting a massive value on Jaden Daniels.
It's just you're having to get 3 years in advance. Like, is that, again, I think 28 is probably the most risky because that's so the league. The only risk is the league might fold by 28. Right? Like we've seen that enough with our.
I would like to see the rest of your team. What you could do? You're on Facebook. Message me on Facebook, Jamie Perog. I run a bunch of different groups. I don't know if you found this in one of those. Send me your team. I'll look at it later, and then we'll dissect it.
I guess the one thing I will leave with is you get a comparable quarterback to Daniels points wise, but at a less of a cost. Now I'm going to guess Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson probably cost just as much, but I mean, I've been saying for the last 2 years, buy Jalen Hurts. There's so much panic around Jalen Hurts, but the rushing touchdown upside. If if you
Fantasy Six Pack. That's probably where you found this on YouTube or on Facebook.
Yes, Fantasy Six Pack YouTube, and you can leave comments under. You can also, I don't know if you guys want. I mean, do you want me to give out your Twitter handles? Derek could DM us in theory if he has Twitter. Are you guys done with my Scott Fishbowl team? By the way, can I take us down?
Yep. Good team. I like it.
Yeah. So I says Jamie's at Jamie Perog if you want to DM us at all. But yeah, head over to the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. The name of the channel is Fantasy Six Pack. You can comment under the video if you have a YouTube subscription. Would also love if you subscribe. It definitely helps out the channel. Dion left a comment here, I think earlier, just talking about Caleb Johnson. So maybe he also probably thinks it seems like everyone, including me, thinks I should have gone Caleb Johnson over David Njoku.
Yep.
We're gonna leave that in the past. I will not let that judgment cloud any future judgments on David Njoku, for instance, in any later segments. But what's that sound? Jamie, is that a giant hammer behind you hitting down to call order in the court?
It's a gavel, Kyle. It's a gavel.
You see, I'm a musician, so I'm thinking like the mallets for xylophones and stuff. Thank you.
Dropping the hammer is what I do on all my opponents. We're hitting the gavel here, brother.
You see what I
Regardless,
said?
I did hear that though. I did hear that slamming noise as well. It can only mean one thing.
Because Rahul wouldn't know otherwise. It's like, oh, we call it it's actually a mallet in Canada. It's a gavel in the States, but no, it's not true at all.
All right, so we're doing Dynasty Court. Let's get into it, right?
Yes,
just quickly, Derek just left this nugget. If it's Goff, Herbert, Love.
That's a good combo to have in a.
I mean, if you could send.
I'm knowing that I'm less likely to do that because
I would try to go I would try to turn Golf into Drake Maye.
I wonder why.
So, and
I'd say, I think, Derek, I'm going to say probably don't do this and try and explore a cheaper deal. I love Jaden Daniels as much as anyone, but even this might be too much for me to want to keep. So try Jalen Hurts. We'll leave you at that. Like if you can get Jalen Hurts cheaper, that's great. But yeah, we could try and go for Drake Maye, and we have order in the court, all presiding for Judge Rahul. So as the judge, I mean, you can judge whether you want to do this or not. Do you want me to introduce the segments and stuff, or do you want to do it?
I will do this segment. Today in the court, all rise for the honorable judge, Small Talk Sports. Today we are presiding over the case of Kyle Senra v. Jamie Perog regarding the matter of Drake Maye's dynasty value. Kyle clearly ad-libbing a little bit, but Jamie has alleged that Drake Maye is the dynasty quarterback 7. Kyle, on the other hand, has him all the way down at dynasty quarterback 17. Let's hear the opening argument from Judge Jamie Perog.
So we're talking Drake Maye here, right? Why he should be dynasty QB7, not QB17. The gap is criminal. Let's set the record straight. Let's start with the raw evidence. Drake Maye is 6'4", 223 pounds with prototypical size, arm talent for days, and sneaky mobility. This dude isn't just a big arm pocket passer. He's got a little running back in his game. Now let's talk situation. Maye landed in New England, and I get it. It's not flashy. It's not a flashy destination, but here's what I see. New coaching staff with a QB-friendly OC and Josh McDaniel, a clear, locked-up starter for years to come, solid weapons being built around him. He's got Diggs as a seasoned vet, drafted Kyle Williams in the early 3rd, and also a young elite talent at running back. And don't forget Hunter Henry as a safety blanket. And most importantly, a front office that is invested in Maye as the face of the franchise. He's going to grow with this offense. Here's where the dynasty crowd is divided. Drake Maye is being drafted around QB 12 in dynasty ADP. That puts him around guys like Jordan Love. He's safe, but not much upside. Brock Purdy, a floor play. Kyler Murray, exciting, but comes with major durability and team risk. Plus, a new Call of Duty can drop at any time. Now, ask yourself this. Who has top 5 Dynasty upside in 2 years from now? Drake Maye does, not those guys. He has the tools to become what we hope Justin Herbert would have been, or what could have been Anthony Richardson's upside. But Maye is actually good at football. You could win multiple years in Dynasty leagues by chasing year one production, but win by projecting talent and situation long term. Drake Maye's best comparable player on Player Profiler is Josh Allen, and he was QB 18 as a rookie. Justin Herbert was a late first, early second in rookie drafts. People panicked on CJ Stroud for being raw. Drake Maye has the same upside path. You just need patience. You want to draft next year's riser before the breakout, not after. So you're going to have to pay the premium. If you want a guy that will cost you 3 first rounds in 2026, while you're sitting there saying, man, I could have had him at QB 15. The bottom line is Drake Maye is not a wait and see project. He's a high ceiling investment that's being discounted because of the Patriots' PTSD and blind spots. If you're a Superflex Dynasty startup or you're trying to trade for a future stud, Drake Maye is your guy. People are fading him because like with this current discount, it's fantasy malpractice. You need to draft smart, watch them rise. In Dynasty Court, we don't wait for consensus. We create it. And with that, Your Honor, I rest my Dynasty case.
Order in the court. Great argument, attorney. Now we turn it over to, I guess, the prosecution in this case. That was the defense of Drake Maye ahead of the prosecution. But Attorney Kyle, please give me your case for why Drake Maye is your quarterback 17 in Dynasty.
I guess I could prosecute some of the arguments. The honorable.
Yeah, or feel free to directly respond as well.
I've got my own, but I guess a few of them would be, you mentioned Josh McDaniels being a quarterback friendly coordinator. And outside of Tom Brady, we've actually seen no evidence of that. It's been a kind of a colossal failure almost anywhere else he's gone. So, and it's Tom Brady. I don't think Drake Maye is going to be Tom Brady in terms of greatest quarterback of all time, being able to diagnose mentally that quickly, especially because, the upside of Maye isn't necessarily the mental processing side. It's the raw physical traits. So I actually am a little concerned what that's going to be like with Josh McDaniels. So I'm not necessarily willing to call that a positive yet. Also, the receivers. You're saying the big investment is a receiver, like a 30, I think he's like 31, 32-year-old receiver coming off a torn ACL. Like that doesn't bode a lot of confidence either that this offense is going to be able to hit vertically because they've got a lot of great guys that can separate underneath. I still think Demario Douglas is constantly disrespected as someone who's earned good target share his first 2 years in the league, will probably continue to do so. Probably one of Drake Maye's main weapons. With Diggs, the vertical concerns with the torn ACL. I mean, frankly, the biggest vertical threat right now is, like you said, third-round rookie Kyle Williams, who I loved as a prospect, but he is still a rookie. So I think we should temper expectations on what he's going to be able to contribute immediately to this team. So I still view this as kind of a low upside passing attack, which was similar to last year. And I mean, you said Josh Allen finished QB 18, right, Jamie? I want to make sure I got that right.
Oh, no, I think that's what he was ranked going in his rookie year.
Well, I'm less concerned that way. How did Josh Allen finish? Because, I mean, to be fair, even if it is QB 28, or sorry, 18, like that's not what Maye did. Maye finished as the QB 23 last year. Now, missed some games. So let's count point per game instead. He was actually worst. He finishes the QB 33, 13.4 points per game. Now, there's also a bit of, he had 2 games where he started, technically played, and did nothing. Like scored 0 points because he got, I think the one was week 18 where they for some reason just benched him immediately without, okay, go out there, hand it off 3 times, and then do nothing else. So by removing those games, if we really want to adjust his points per game, you remove those games and the 2.1 points he got in another game that is counted for him where he was the backup. He came in late to replace Brissett. So if you remove those 3 games, which again equates to 2.1 total points between the three of them. His points per game rises to 16.8. Still only QB 15 though. So this breakout, I'm skeptical to think it's there yet. And looking at Josh Allen's rookie season, he scored 17.3 points per game. So you know what, Jamie? That's actually not that far off of what May scored if you adjust. But really, I guess the one thing we don't know is, does he have double-digit rushing touchdown upside in his background? Like, is that possible for him, like it was for Josh Allen? Because I'm not as convinced of that. Because that to me is where he's going to have to succeed to get this upside. I guess just looking at some of the quarterbacks that outscored him, actually, you brought up a lot of the names I was going to compare him to. There's a ton of list of quarterbacks that outscored him. So if you want to say again, he finished QB 15 in adjusted points per game last year. But there's a lot of guys like Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Herbert that all outproduced him points per game. You want to tell me Jared Goff? Fine. I think we may have seen the peak of Jared Goff. I'm less excited about him. To your point about Derek's question, maybe you want to trade Goff for Drake Maye.
Drake Maye.
And I have no faith in Sam Darnold, so you want to take him off the list too. And I get the risk with Tua. I would also probably rather have Drake Maye. So you want to take those three off, fine. Like that would rank Drake Maye as QB 12. But then I think of who didn't score more than Drake Maye last year. Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud. I've got all four of those guys ranked ahead of Drake Maye in Dynasty. And that's kind of what's accounting for him being at QB 17, essentially. Caleb Williams, it's the same argument. And I rank him in that same similar range. I think I've got him at QB 50. We haven't seen it yet. And you can say it all you want. He's a rookie. We saw Jaden Daniels do it. So him being a rookie, you're either good enough to do it or you're not, as far as I'm concerned. So the fact that he hasn't shown it yet, we got to remember Josh Allen is a complete outlier because where he came from, he was not a good college producer. Like, frankly, Jamie, the thing that makes your argument better is that Drake Maye is a much better college producer than Josh Allen, which is what even more amazing about where Allen is right now as like the QB1 overall in Dynasty. I know you rank him there. Like that is the outlier of all outliers. We really shouldn't be basing Josh Allen as an example because we're going to fail to hit that target a lot more often than we are. For Jordan Love and CJ Stroud,
I just want to say, why do you hate Peyton Manning so bad? He had a bad rookie year.
Didn't he break the quarterback passing touchdown record as a rookie? I don't think he had that.
Mayfield?
Sorry?
I thought that was Baker Mayfield.
Well, Baker broke Manning's record. And to be fair, Justin Herbert broke Baker's record. Jordan Love, you brought him up as a guy that doesn't have the upside. We just saw Jordan Love 2 years ago finish as the QB6 in points per game. And so I disagree vehemently. I think Jordan Love has the much more upside because we've already seen him actualize it in his first year as a starter. And yeah, last year he scored 16.3 fantasy points per game, which was a half a point less than what Drake Maye did in that adjusted. But again, when I was removing games for Drake Maye, which again, I think is fair to do because he scored so little, did so little in those games, they really shouldn't count against him. So I'm willing to give it that last year, he technically outscored Jordan Love from that perspective. Jordan Love had 19.4 points per game the previous year. So I think his upside actualizes there. You mentioned CJ Stroud, 18.7 fantasy points per game as a rookie. That's essentially 2 points per game better than what Drake Maye did. So we've already seen Stroud hit that level. And yeah, it dropped last year, but those are two guys I'm definitely willing to say have more upside than Drake Maye. But suddenly that 12 number we talked about, it's QB 14. And then you can sell me on Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence. Those are two guys I have ranked ahead of him just because I believe in them as prospects better than Maye. But frankly, like they're all in the same kind of points per game range of what we expect to see them going forward. So you want to tell me that Maye has the better rushing upside over those two? I'm willing to hear that. But that still maxes out to me at QB 14. So this idea of him in the top 10 right now, it's far too early for me. The rushing's there. He was fourth. If you count him as having 12, like you take out the game he didn't start, he's fourth in rushing yards per game among quarterbacks. That's great. That's going to be a solid, safe floor. Ninth in carries per game, though. So he was super efficient rushing, But we also know one thing, that rushing yards per efficiency, that's one of the least sticky stats. So he was extra efficient this year. Will he be next year? Maybe. Maybe that's his skill set, maybe not. I've got him ranked, projected with 4 rushing touchdowns, which would put him 7th among quarterbacks. So up there, but still not up to the elite rushing tier. And I don't believe he's quite there, especially from an upside perspective. I could maybe see Daniel Jones sort of high rushing yards, and he gives you a safe floor, but I'm skeptical of the top 6 upside right now in Dynasty, which is why he's outside my top 15, frankly.
And that's all right. That's your prerogative. If you want to be behind the 8 ball, so be it.
Order in the court. I mean, it is a projection, right? QB7 is a projection. I'll give my thoughts and conclusion before I rule in favor of one of our lovely attorneys. Great work, gentlemen. But we have to go with the side of justice. Before that, though, QB7, Kyle, you said it, and Jamie, you kind of alluded to it, behind the 8 ball, because it is a projection. We haven't seen what Drake Maye has done on the field as of yet does not merit a QB7 ranking in Dynasty, especially like it's not just the QBs that are around or below that price tag. It's like the premium like skill players as well that you could get in the range of Drake Maye. It is very expensive to put him at like QB7. I think mine might be QB8, but it's certainly in that range, if that might or might not give away the answer. I think one thing both of you addressed it is the rushing upside for Drake Maye. And we've talked so much about rushing quarterbacks on the show that it just gives them that kind of like full floor ceiling combination that's pretty much unbeatable in fantasy. Like if you look at 2025, like seasonal ADP, there's a cluster of 4 rushing quarterbacks right at the top, and then a huge drop off besides like a random Joe Burrow thrown in the middle. It's just because those rushing quarterbacks provide such a difference per game over the rest of the field, right? Lamar last year, like 25 points per game. The QB 13 was at like 18 points per game. It's just like that 7-point difference that you could potentially get in your lineup is so huge. If that like, and Kyle, you said about the maybe efficiency, because he did only have 54 attempts. He didn't have any like crazy number of attempts game, but that's where I kind of like Jamie went into. I do kind of want to go into the prospect of Drake Maye. That's what he did a lot in college, right? He scrambled a ton with the ball. He fought for extra yards.
Or 11,000 or 1,100 yards on the ground.
Yeah, and I think especially Drake Maye in the red zone, it's like he almost had that kind of like bonehead trait, like that he's gonna muscle in into the goal line, like, you know, at the expense of his body. Whether that's smart long term, I don't know, but you know, for our dynasty windows, it's fine enough. I just think Drake Maye has that chance to provide difference-making production to a level where, like, you know, the quarterbacks around him, like Jordan Love, even like Justin Herbert, those pocket quarterbacks that are going to rely on like 40 passing touchdown seasons, that's a crapshoot. But Drake Maye could break that mold with like the way he plays the game. Weapons concern, O-line boost out. Kyle, I'll let you respond in a sec. But weapons, maybe it might not be where it needs to be yet. O-line, they certainly put a lot of investment, even if 4th overall maybe was high for a Will Campbell type of prospect. Still, they did put a lot of investment in the O-line. The Patriots' schedule this year, like, I wouldn't think it's too crazy if the Patriots have a winning record this year, because they have one of the easiest schedules in the entire NFL. So that could be like the kind of platform where Drake Maye does have these games, like he could go off for a couple touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. Suddenly, like QB7, that kind of like what maybe like 25th to 30th overall in Dynasty. Suddenly, that's a price you're never going to see again. So I have Drake Maye ranked very highly. If I do hear your arguments, and feel free to supplant any of the arguments that your honorable judge made.
He posted almost 8,000 passing yards and 62 touchdowns in his final 2 seasons. He had 1,100 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns on the ground in his career in college. Like this, he's got a statue in the background. This is a dual threat with college.
again, I'll buy the rushing yards idea because counting just 10 games, again, he was fourth in among quarterbacks in rushing yards per game. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns though. Technically, he played 13 games, but again, we'll give him just 10. Josh Allen as a rookie had 8 rushing touchdowns in only 12 games played. So I'm skeptical that he is that true dual threat rushing upside guy. But to me, he's still not quite at the Daniels Lamar level either for rushing yards. Like he's fourth, but there's a big gap after the top 2. So fourth isn't that much different than 10th in terms of rushing yards per game. So my big pushback is the rushing upside. I get the rushing floor. I don't think he's a rushing upside quarterback. It's the same argument I have with Daniel Jones all these years. Every time anyone talks about Daniel Jones being an upside.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury in the chat, I want to see who you are going with. Are you more towards Drake Maye as QB 7 in Dynasty or QB 17 in Dynasty?
We'll find out. So we've got a few people just joined.
And I want to hear Rahul's judgment.
So
Rahul.
We've had a few people join us. Matt Krubel, Local Fantasy Flavor. Drop the Mike FF. Mike Hicks, Jamie's co-host on the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. We're going for 2 app. And we're going to go for 2 shirts. This is a true judgment. No kickers in Dynasty. I think that's something we can all agree on. But let us know. Local Football Flavor. For me, May, it's the supporting cast. They have to get it in the red zone more for him to really capitalize on the rushing side. Yeah. Parlay FF podcast is here again. Thank you for inviting me on Monday. That was great.
I was just on that on Monday, so go check that show out. We did tight end rankings, and we'll get into a tight end here in just 1 second.
Mike saying the middle, QB 10 to 12. Thanks, Mike.
That's pretty safe. That's pretty safe.
That's the cheat sheet answer.
Closer to mine if you do the math, right?
No, if it's 12,
10 to
it's
12,
exactly equal.
7 is closer to 10 than 12 is to 17. Boom! I win.
Well, Mike's not the judge. Let's allow the actual judge to. Although I'm pretty sure he's gonna win anyway. But go ahead, judge.
The decision is in. Honorable gentlemen and ladies of the jury. I think we may have some ladies of the jury. I don't know. I don't see the statistics on this, but I am ready to deliver my verdict. The case has been won by Jamie Perog with the ranking of quarterback 7. I just think difference maker. I'll take that. I'd rather take the risk. If I could make one last point, like Anthony Richardson is like the Josh Allen comp in terms of outliers. Like Josh Allen's outlier, Anthony Richardson would have to have been an outlier, and that upside was so enticing in Dynasty. Drake Maye is leagues ahead of a prospect of where both of those players came from, so I'll take that chance.
All right, we ready to get into our second judgment of the night, Kyle?
Well, apparently you don't win anything, Jamie, but you'll have another chance to win here as order in the court. Judge Kyle is now presiding. Judge Senra says it's time to discuss. I have the banner. Tight end for the Cleveland Browns, David Njoku. Presenting the optimistic case, a Cleveland native himself, one who considers himself a Canadian. And while we're not talking about the catching Canuck, Judge Jamie will stick with lucky number 7, ranking David Njoku as tight end 7 in Dynasty. Meanwhile, on the not the sunny side, but living in the sunny coast on the West Coast, far away from Cleveland, is Rahul ranking Njoku technically as a tight end 1, just barely though, as tight end 12. My rankings are somewhere in the middle. So once again, we'll allow the optimistic case to go first. I don't know why I took that off the screen. Jamie, go ahead. What is the argument for David Njoku as tight end 7 in Dynasty?
Your Honor, members of the jury, tonight I present the case of David Njoku versus Rahul's terrible Dynasty tight end ranking. My opponent, Mr. Rahul, has Njoku ranked tight end 12 in Dynasty. 12. That's tight end purgatory right there. The land of Dalton Kincaid's low target share. Kelsey's old age, and even Isaiah Likely as a backup. I, however, firmly stand incorrectly on David Njoku as a top 7 Dynasty tight end, and here is why the verdict should swing my way. Exhibit A, his age, athleticism, and situation. David Njoku just turned 29 2 weeks ago. Happy belated birthday, by the way. He's entering his prime of his career and has every trait you want in a modern day tight end. We're talking elite athleticism, high percentile burst, high percentile catch radius, a straight up verified freak. He's not some aging placeholder. He's a core piece of that Browns offense. Exhibit B, his production and usage. In 2023, Njoku was tight end 6 overall in PPR. He saw 123 targets, third most with tight ends, right behind Kelsey and Engram. He had more targets than Kittle. When Flacco took over, Njoku didn't dip below tight end 4 those weeks. He had 2 games as tight end 2 and 2 games as tight end 3 on those weeks. And guess who's back? Back again. Joe freaking Flacco's back. Go tell some friends. Then in 2024, he was still tight end 4 in points per game, even with the shaky quarterback issues. You can't find that type of usage unless you're allergic to fantasy points. Exhibit C, why Rahul is wrong. Rahul's counterpoint is going to be what? Njoku's quarterback situation is shaky. That he's inconsistent. Maybe the injury concern. Well,
Objection.
Guess what? Every tight end not named Bowers and McBride is inconsistent, and even they can get injured. That's the position. And let's talk quarterback. Njoku produced with Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and even a guy they picked up at a dollar store bargain bin, right? He's quarterback proof, and that makes him even more valuable in Dynasty. So, for my closing arguments, I would like to say, would you rather have Likely or Andrew, 2 tight ends that are in the same team on a run-heavy offense? Evan Engram, who's 2 years older than Njoku on a brand-new offense? Dalton Kincaid, who barely caught 40 balls last year? Njoku almost caught as many passes as Kincaid had targets while playing 2 less games. Where you're ranking this, Rahul, you're ranking warm bodies and touchdown hopes over an elite commanding, elite volume tight end. Like tight end 12 is just disrespectful. It's downright criminal. You should be in jail for this. David Njoku is the tight end you want to trade for, not trade away from. So my fellow managers, the jury of this Dynasty Court, I say this. You can follow Rahul's rankings, or you can follow the production, the age curve, and the film, and the targets. And with that, I rest my Dynasty case.
Well, then maybe, in fact, we'll follow up by not only following Rahul's rankings, but his process behind ranking David Njoku at tight end 12. Go ahead, Rahul.
I had to say, I did let out one objection. I have to save mine when my opposing counsel started rapping in the middle of a courthouse. What do you think this is, the circus? I do have to say, before I get into my case, that this does feel like I'm stabbing a dear friend in the back. Because, Jamie, what I will agree with you completely off the bat is David Njoku is an elite athlete. He is one of the premier yards after catch threats in the entire NFL. I think that is undoubtable. And he's very easy on the eye, the way he kind of strides like a gazelle through the middle of the field. David Njoku is honestly one of my favorite players in the NFL. The concerns that I do have about David Njoku are mainly related to the situation. While you have stated correctly that he has been a proven volume earner in the past, I do think now we're moving into a new Cleveland Browns, which really should. I mean, I'd be shocked if they, make it out of the bottom 5 this season in the NFL for touchdowns. Touchdowns, don't move, everything in the fantasy football world, but to be a difference maker at a position that really doesn't matter who you stick in your tight end spot, they can just be a warm body unless you have Brock Bowers, George Kittle, or Trey McBride. most of the guys are probably going to score 10 PPR points per game, and that's kind of where I have Njoku capping out. We'll say, like, but with the splits, you know, you did mention like he already has gone through a carousel of quarterbacks, and that's true. The Njoku averaged 13.4 PPR points per game in the 22 games he's played without Deshaun Watson the last 3 seasons. Goes all the way down to 8 PPR points per game in the 13 games that Watson has played at least 50% of Cleveland's offensive snaps. I think if you go into those 22 games, yeah, there might be like 2 DTR starts. That's mostly with Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston, who, yeah, they're not, you know, at their current states, best, even in the top half quarterbacks in the NFL. But what they will do is sling the heck out of the ball, right? Especially in that Kevin Stefanski offense that he's wanted to go more pass happy over the years. There's just been so much volume to go around. This is bad on me. I didn't get the target share. Target share would have been interesting to look at, and I do think, even as immediately starting this year, target share could come into question with Jerry Jeudy having his breakout. Cedric Tillman, who I'm certainly not the only one who's been, you know, pumping up the Cedric Tillman stocks this year. He only played 4 games in that kind of starter role before a concussion knocked him out. And Deontay Johnson, well, will he be on the roster come season time? That's, you know, even a question. But someone who has handled high volume in the past, I do think there's a lot more competition. Not to mention Harold Fannin, who I don't expect to compete with Njoku for targets, you know, week 1, potentially even week 10. But he, you know, if there's a tight end on the field that you can throw the ball to, it's probably going to be the profile of Harold Fannin. It's all to say, like, yeah, 29, 30 next year. Like, is that like starting to trend dangerously for, you know, actual production, but maybe more importantly in our game, like dynasty value? I think that becomes a question when all signs kind of point to Njoku not being re-signed by Cleveland, just based on what both player and team have kind of said so far. And that's, I guess, where the concern goes. Situation changes away from one of the top 2 targets on the team on a tight end focused pass heavy offense could change a little bit. And I think, you know, when you have to value like current scoring versus future production, future situation, there's an argument that, you know, I think you laid it out well. He has been at least tight end 6 in the last 2 years with stretches of like actual difference making production. I kind of explained why I don't see that case on the Browns this year, but if David Njoku is somehow one of those dynasty like assets that it always seems like the owner values him a little more than whoever the buyer may be in the market. It's just not that kind of like flashy, super liquid name to where I think in the rankings I sent you definitely had Isaiah likely a little spots too high, but take that name out and put Tucker Kraft in. I think that would be like the 1-to-1 replacement. Like Tucker Kraft is that young, like potentially ascending tight end that has a little more liquidity. Like Kincaid hasn't showed it yet, but still being young, 1st round pick, is the number 1 target in the Bills offense, like decided, like has a little bit more flash. David Njoku, I think I stand by, you know, that tight end 12. I will say, actually, on the sheet, Kyle miscounted. It was tight end 11 on that sheet. I just wanted to make sure. But, you know, I think like he's in that range. I think he's in like kind of like that muck that maybe overall value, if you can get him for like a mid to late second, I'd probably do that on the team. But I stand by where I have him, my tight end rankings. And I think with that, Your Honor, I rest my case.
So a couple things. Jamie, you're on mute, but I really want to ask this question first. What kind of circus do you go to where people are rapping? Like that's the weird California stuff. And I get like Compton's in California, and supposedly it's like the center of the hip hop universe, blah, blah, blah. Man, I don't think I've ever actually been to a circus. So for all I know, every circus raps. But yeah, that was my first thing.
Circus might not have been the word,
still on
the place I was looking for, but concert. C, concert.
I would like to say I liked your argument. And one thing that I want to bring up, that if you do believe this with Njoku, you need to put Fannin up there with likely in your rankings.
We already said likely was too high. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
I
was
guess I've
one
seen it
thing
with my eyes.
I was going to say, I was wondering if Jamie was going to use this, but I would logically, following the argument that we're worried about Njoku on the Browns, yet we're talking about him being the last year of his contract. you're talking like the Browns being like the bottom of the bottom. Like it almost couldn't get worse in terms of quarterback quality. Now, the only fear is what happened to Jonnu Smith. You go somewhere where there's already an established tight end, and you're the target share is split between two players. That's the one thing.
Guess who's going to be retiring this year?
I mean,
Travis
probably
Kelce. Who couldn't possibly go to Patrick Mahomes? David
Man,
Njoku.
don't tell the Noah Gray hive. They've been waiting forever for Noah Gray to be a thing.
That's my tight end 7, Noah Gray.
Oh, man. So did you want to find out about target share? Because I do have it in front of me right here.
Yeah, I am curious. Just, and I don't know if we have like I'll have to look at the splits later, but I'm curious because the theory is there was so much volume to go around that 7 targets is not necessarily like. Go ahead, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So Njoku early in his career really struggled with target share. I mean, I think it was like he was always splitting with someone else, Austin Hooper, or I don't know who else was on the Browns. But his first 5 seasons, he only had 1 year above 11.5% target share. 2018, his second year, he had 16.9% target share. But then in the other 4 years, it never got higher than 11.4 and dipped as low as 7.4. So those first 5 years, he wasn't a target earner, but the last 3, 18.6% target share in 2022, 21.5 in 2023, 22.8 last year. So career high, even with Jerry Jeudy establishing himself and also having a career high target share. So the one thing I will say from last year, there's evidence to point that Njoku and Jeudy could coexist and both operate well. So that is the one sort of positive side of that.
I do like local football flavors comment. Cleveland, bunch of garbage time.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
They're going to play from behind, whipping that ball down the field. Like I said, his catch radius is amazing.
We know Flacco loves these like crazy high pass attempt games that are so inefficient, but he volumes his way to getting guys to good fantasy performances. And then you got to think if it's the young quarterbacks taking over, they're going to want to see what they have in whoever they have.
I just want to say also next year he's not going to be on the Browns, but I did mention he was quarterback proof. But what if he goes and takes over Darren Waller in Miami? We saw what Jonnu did.
And you know what? And he's the type of athletic, he has the type of athletic traits to do what Jonnu did last year. So I think that would honestly, that's a much better replacement right now for Jonnu than Darren Waller. I know Mike's convinced that Njoku is not going to the Chiefs, but
I just said that just to say it, but no.
Oh, okay. It wasn't Mike was in the chat. You wanted to press his buttons. He's saying tight end 9, so that's technically would be. I guess that is right in the middle. Man, Rahul, you really messed it up with that tight end 11, but that's okay. Whoever's on Parlay FF, whether it's Shane or Matt or actually, I think.
See, you're
Njoku tight end 8.
I like the tight end 8.
We got one more vote. They make a parlay on
one thing I will say that I had missed out, kind of alluded to the quarterback situation. Kyle, you said they are incentivized to see what they have in the young quarterbacks before they go ahead and draft their next quarterback in the next draft. But this is maybe from a redraft perspective, but I have trouble clicking a lot of the Browns because who the hell is going to be throwing them the ball in weeks?
It's the hope that Flacco is the QB all year, just like Matt's saying here in this comment, right? Like anyone who's selecting the Browns you're almost banking on it being Flacco as much as the years.
That's like the story you have to tell, because if it's like
that's the story I told myself when I took him in Scott Fishbowl over Caleb.
Yeah, I do like David Njoku, so you know what? I've made my peace with whatever results you give out, Kyle. I do like Njoku a lot.
And before you give your verdict, I do want to shout out Local Football Flavor. I love their shows. They're awesome. I'm always in their chats. So if you ever go subscribe to them also, and me and you can have some conversations in the chat.
Yeah, just like everyone. I mean, love all this interaction in the chat tonight. But yes, time for Judge Kyle to play a mallet on his xylophone or something.
I thought that was a horse, a little trot.
I was thinking more like cowbell, to be honest. So maybe that's close. That's actually. So my rankings do have David Njoku at tight end 8. So matching what Matt's saying, which would be 1 spot closer to Jamie and 3 spots away from Rahul's ranking. And yeah, just because as much as, again, some of the arguments Rahul was just that one contradiction, right? Is, okay, we're worried about the Browns offense. Then there's also concern with him leaving. To me, like, pick one or the other, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and I get your point. Like, on the Browns,
not been a better
he's
offense.
guaranteed.
It could be both bad. It could be both bad, but that's a contradiction.
You're
for
right.
Sure.
He could go to a just as awful situation where he's splitting targets, right? Like, at least here he's getting the targets. What if he goes to a spot where he's the clear tight end and he gets a QB upgrade? So there are also the idea of him not being as resellable. I think there's a lot of, I guess at tight end too is a position I'm willing to go a little older with the dynasty value. So I'm going to crown Jamie victorious for this whole show is give him the win.
Thank
here,
you,
so
Fantasy
it really
Court.
doesn't matter what you and I say next, Rahul, because Jamie's just going to brag the whole time. But
I'm too young to be in fantasy category. Like, I got kids I need to take care of. I can't go to jail. So thank you very much.
Why does everything have to be so dramatic? Not all courts, like, this is like, civil suits could be a thing. It doesn't have to all be criminal.
I don't know if we're
I
ready
don't
for
have
his
the money to
courtship.
pay the fines either. So thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, like, talk about it. If he gets 22% target share from Flacco versus from Kenny Pickett is definitely a huge difference, though, right? So it is a big risk with the thought that could Flacco lose out to Pickett anyway?
No way.
I would seem that's unlikely. I'm honestly surprised that the Browns haven't tried to sell Pickett to the Titans with Will Levis injury news and like Cameron Ward not really having a clear backup, and just it's Flacco until it's not. Then we'll try one of the young guys out, whether it's Sanders or Gabriel. Right? Like,
I guess you don't want Pickett, who's like a young-ish guy behind your rookie quarterback. You want like a vet in there, right? But
I think you want a good quarterback, but you might not.
Yeah.
Like, what are the Titans' options though? Like, who is available for them to have as a quarterback behind him? They might turn to Pickett might actually be the best, so which is sad. So yeah, I think definitely if Pickett starts, then yeah, there's concern with Njoku. But
all right, court is now in session. Today we hear the case of Matthew Golden, Dynasty wide receiver 25 versus wide receiver 35. On one side, we have Rahul boldly stepping up into the courtroom with Golden ranked as wide receiver 25. A breakout prophecy or a premature ranking? We'll find out. On the other hand, we have Kyle bringing an approach with Golden at wide receiver 35, betting on talent, but not ready to hand him the crown just yet. The jury is watching. The takes are loaded, and the stakes. Dynasty roster's future. Let's begin the opening arguments, and may the best ranking survive the gavel. Rahul, let's hear your arguments.
Before anything else, say Matt talking about Njoku as high as tight end 3 makes me feel a little better with my Scott Fish Bowl pick. So thank you, Matt. And,
I mean, if he finishes tight end 3,
then it's a clear victory. But yes, apparently Mike already knows his opinion, and he can't disagree with Jamie because Jamie's not arguing. It's Rahul, so I'll stop interrupting. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. My opponent, Kyle Senra, Packers faithful himself, turning on the first round receiver drafted by your franchise since 2002. I was 5 years old in 2002. That's how long ago that was. But Matthew Golden, like I started the last argument, I mean, maybe it's not the greatest strategy considering I lost the case, but I'll start with my biggest concern. I guess in that case, it was David Njoku is a damn good player. Here, my biggest concern is with the numbers. Matthew Golden had the best college season of his college career, receiving yards wise per game of any first round pick wide receiver in the last 5 years. That's not a very, that's not a start that you really want to have. He has not had 1,000-yard rookie receiving season. I'm a little bit surprised myself. He came out this year itself and must have meant he got some good buzz from the NFL. And, at the end of the day, he was a first round pick in the NFL. So kudos to Matthew Golden. why I do have him as high as wide receiver 25, and really we'll we'll have to say, we all do dynasties and tiers. He's probably at the head of a long list that has some other young players, including a couple of the other rookie receivers, Luther Burden, Jaden Higgins, both of whom, Emeka Egbuka, I have Golden ahead of all of those options, but also ahead of, some of the veteran point scoring options like Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams, productive pieces. That's, you have to decide where your team is. But I do believe in Matthew Golden's ability to claim the alpha wide receiver role on the Green Bay Packers, be that, main target earner for Jordan Love. I think this is an offense that we likely have not seen the best of yet. We had Jordan Love's first true starting season where he really kicked on towards the end of the year. And then we had, last year, which was not a great look from the stat sheets, but it was a very, very injury abbreviated campaign. Jordan Love got knocked down the first game for, I think, 3 or 4 Malik Willis, very, very run heavy starts. And then he had a groin injury too. But then he also had a groin injury later down the season that kind of did hamper what Jordan Love could do the rest of the year. So I do think this is an offense that's poised to take a step forward in a team that's really crying out for that wide receiver one. So much so as Josh Jacobs going and making a comment like, man, I just want this team to get an alpha wide receiver when, there are already three real players who have been darlings of fantasy Twitter, 3 pretty solid players. Am I missing 4? I even forgot Christian Watson, who kind of forgotten from the equation because of his ACL tear. But, like a lifeline from God, today we get a tweet from Packers beat reporter, a name that I'm probably not even going to be able to pronounce. It's very Polish, a lot of Z's, I think. Said that Matthew Golden is running with the twos with Romeo Dobbs and Matthew Golden. I think this is really what it's going to come down to. Jaden Reed truthers, will cry in pain at the 3 wide receiver versus 2 wide receiver set snaps, or 2 wide receiver set snaps that Jaden Reed played. I think that's the critical piece to someone who's going to earn the targets. We kind of know what Romeo Dobbs is after a while, but I think Golden is going to come in and be like that consistent target earner for this offense. You guys, I'll trust your guys' film takes more than my own. I won't try to convince you on film itself, but he is someone that is pretty highly rated by a lot of, the people in the film know. So I would say that he has that profile, like he can play inside, outside, all 3 spots, win at all 3 levels. I think Matthew Golden is a good player. I think he's going to be a success in the NFL. And circling back to where I started, the stats, I think if you look at Matthew Golden, what he did really down the stretch in his what was his first season at Texas, in his final season in college, he really exploded, especially in 2 playoff games with I think 149, 162 yards in 2 separate games. He really exploded in critical spots. We could be going really into an era of rookie scouting, rookie analytics that throws up a few more outliers just with how NIL, COVID is affecting how long players have been in college. We've just had, Bo Nix, everyone clowning on him for his age, how long he stayed in college, end up being a success. We have RJ Harvey, hasn't played in the NFL yet, but a 2nd-round draft pick at 24. I think you're going to see a few more of these weird situations where Matthew Golden, after 2 years at Houston, transferred to one of the bigger footballing schools in the nation in Texas. Makes sense to me that he might have had to take some time to get the ropes and start to command that kind of work. Like Isaiah Bond was not drafted, but I think that could be more off-field issues. They also had Gunnar Helm to contend with, so there were some options in that room. I do think Matthew Golden has that potential to be a wide receiver 1 scoring player in fantasy, and as that rookie option. I think he deserves a higher ranking, kind of like we talked about with Drake Maye. We've seen a bit of Drake Maye. We haven't seen anything of Matthew Golden, but I'll take that risk when the upside swing that we could get with Matthew Golden doing pretty well. Even Christian Watson in his rookie year exploded down the stretch. Even if we get that, where's Matthew Golden? What price is he going to command? So That's my case for Matthew Golden. I hope it was a golden argument, but I rest my case, Your Honor.
I don't want to shower on this parade, but the Watson rookie year was with Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, who notoriously will just throw the ball on the 1-yard line for touchdowns all the time, which was a big boost to his Watson score at the end of the year was touchdowns. So I don't know how applicable that is to this argument, considering we have a different quarterback. And considering how run heavy Green Bay was all year, but especially inside the 5 with Josh Jacobs. So I'm skeptical of the same type of style of breakout that Watson got. If Golden's going to produce like that level of fantasy points in breakout, it would have to be at a much more consistent target share than what Watson got as a rookie, which I think the total year target share was 14%. I remember isolating like the last half of the year went up to like 21, 22%.
Yeah.
Over just a small sample size. He'd probably need to do that over a whole season to produce what Watson did as a rookie. So far, Love hasn't shown to just target one guy like that. I think it's 2 years in a row with Love. No one's hit 20% target share on the team. I'd be hard pressed to think it happens, regardless of it being a first round pick or not. And I just want to get to that as a Packers fan. Why do I have to like this? Because I'll tell you, I'm a Packers fan who's often been, in spite of the criticism, get Rodgers a first round receiver. How is Mercedes Lewis the only first round pick he's ever thrown a touchdown to? Even though he's the first round pick the year Rodgers got drafted. That's how old of a tight end he was, which again, back to the point, tight ends can still produce when they're old. We know that. But I'm someone who's often been pro not taking a first round receiver because Clay Matthews, Jair Alexander, Kenny Clark, most of the elite Packers defensive players in the time with Aaron Rodgers and since 2002 have been had in the draft. Sure, they've occasionally got a Reggie White, a Charles Woodson, now a Xavier McKinney in free agency. Those are like once in a decade type of opportunities they happen to capitalize on. But for the most part, the Packers have been better served taking first round picks on defense. Not to say there could be an Eric Stokes situation where, oh man, Eric Stokes is really bad. But a lot of the elite Packers defenders have been first round picks. So I don't love that they took a first round pick in Golden because part of the reason, Rahul, they haven't done it since 2002 is I think what happened since 2002? Packers won a Super Bowl in 2010 without a first round pick at wide receiver on the team. But they had 2 elite second round picks in Greg Jennings and Jordy Nelson. Since that Super Bowl, they continued. Randall Cobb was a second round pick. The mother of all second round picks, Devontae Adams, in one of the most loaded wide receiver classes we've ever seen, with Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, Odell Beckham, all getting top 10 draft capital. They got Devontae Adams in the second. So the Packers' ability to identify second rounders and draft them has been good. That was Ted Thompson. It's continued with Gutekunst, Jaden Reed, second round pick. The aforementioned Kristen Watson, second round pick. So as a Packers fan, I was maybe biased against Golden just because he's a first round pick and it feels like it's a wasted opportunity. Now, my argument on that the whole time was also Aaron Rodgers doesn't need first round picks at receivers. He needs the best possible team around him, which means elite defensive players. I don't think Jordan Love's as good as Aaron Rodgers. Certainly not peak Aaron Rodgers. So maybe the argument is that he does need a first round receiver, unlike Aaron Rodgers. The huge problem I have, though, is you need to actually take good first round wide receivers. You mentioned it. He would be the worst productive, from a production standpoint, wide receiver or first round receiver in the last, you said half decade. I imagine it goes further than that. So some of the 4 biggest things I look at for production. Breakout age, which is tied to when a receiver hits 20% dominator rating. Dominator, percentage of teams, yards, and touchdowns. So Golden's breakout age at 20 and his total career dominator rating was 18.4%. Career yards per team attempt, 1.4. Receiving yards per team pass attempt, his best season, single season, is 1.82. Now, you could say it's all just they didn't run much. They had so much success with their. I mean, they were a playoff team last year, and they had all this success, and they didn't really need to throw. But in that exact same system with Quinn Ewers, the same quarterback the year before, Xavier Worthy was able to produce a 31.4% career dominator rating. He broke out as an 18-year-old. He had a single season best of 2.89 receiving yards per team pass attempt. That's over a full yard more than Matthew Golden. His career receiving yards per team total attempts, 2.3. Again, that's almost a full yard more than Golden at 1.4. So I don't want to hear the offense as an excuse because Xavier Worthy clearly produced at elite levels in this offense, and yet Golden was unable to. They're both first rounders, but if you look at their production profile, they're total opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to first rounders. The closest comparables I found over the last two classes for Matthew Golden: Jalen McMillan, 20% breakout age, his career dominator rating 18.7 and almost identical to Golden's at 18.4. Yards per team attempt total 1.3 for his career, again 1.4 for Golden's career, and his single season best receiving yards per team pass attempt 1.91 for McMillan. So it's even better than Golden's. And what are we doing with McMillan this year? We're completely burying him because they drafted another receiver who we don't think is going to even produce that much. But we're just about ready to completely bury McMillan in Dynasty this year. Maybe falsely, because he did produce last year. 2 years ago, so that was the closest comparable in the 2024 class. The closest to Matthew Golden in the 23 class, Jonathan Mingo. Breakout age 21, so he was even later than Golden, but the career dominator rating of 19.8%, even higher than Golden's. The yards per team attempt, 1.2, lower than Golden's, but his single season best receiving yards per team pass attempt, which was his age 21 season, to be fair, 2.22, which is a lot higher than Golden's. And this is Jonathan Mingo we're talking about. Another guy who's completely buried in Dynasty. So he's much closer to those guys as production profiles than he is to Xavier Worthy. And he's a first rounder. Those guys weren't first rounders, so that has to count for something. But I'm just very skeptical to bet on his profile when I know the reason that, clearly the Packers don't care about production. And that's part of Brian Gutekunst, the GM. He's all about athletic traits. And he is only drafting Golden in the first round because he ran a 4.29 40, which a lot of people aren't even sure he actually ran. He seemed surprised he ran that fast because he never ran another one. Most players take 2 attempts, take the best attempt. That one was so outstandingly good, he didn't even want to try to up it because he probably knew he couldn't up it. I do wonder if there's skepticism. It seemed like the coaches who saw him in practice every day were surprised by it. So is he only a first rounder under the false pretense of this 40 time? For both times to say, okay,
that's a crazy.
GMs,
Sorry, Kyle. I think that's
order
a
in the
crazy
court.
argument.
Order in the court, Rahul. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Kyle. Yeah, sorry, Your Honor. But I think I would give credence to a lot of what you've said, but I don't think we should be penalizing him for running fast. That's not what the stick to beat him down with.
I'm not penalizing for running fast. I don't think it matters. All these, DeAndre Hopkins ran like a 4.67. He might be a Hall of Fame receiver. You don't need speed at wide receiver as much as you need it at tight end. So I just don't think it matters. And what I'm saying is I think this thing that doesn't matter is the only reason he was drafted in the first round, which to me makes it a bad first round pick. And again, maybe I'm approaching this from my Packers bias too much, hating the pick. But I'm not willing to make a wide receiver 25 investment on a profile that looks awful.
So why don't we talk about, if Your Honor will allow it, why don't we talk about maybe the wide receivers that fit in, even if you want to start at 25, who are you taking ahead of Matthew Golden? I think I can make a case for all the, where I have him in the rookie classes. He's my wide receiver 3. There has been some Egbuka buzz since this. I think we decided these rankings, but I have had Golden wide receiver 3 just because I do think that situation is the cleanest for him to win the wide receiver 1 role compared to Burden, Higgins, and Egbuka. But who are some other names that you would have at 25 and between 25 and 35?
Nope, I only play one on Dynasty Court. I am not a real lawyer or a real doctor.
He's a Dynasty lawyer.
Sure. Get some into some Dynasty trouble here. Some Dynasty litigation.
I'm going to give you some names. Devonta Smith, Waddle, Olave, Jamo, Metcalf.
Definitely. Yes. I apologize. Those are all names I have in that between those ranges, right? Actually,
okay.
Olave Smith even higher than wide receiver 25. So I don't even think that's a discussion. I think it's Devontae Smith clearly over Matthew Golden.
I only had Olave and Metcalf behind Matthew Golden in that situation. One of them is the age. Olave, I think the ceiling that Golden could score fantasy points is far higher than Olave's, who has not hit a single game of 20 points in his career so far. That might be a half PPR stat, but ceiling Golden.
Like I think the Saints. That was actually the one name that when Jamie said it, I hesitated. I actually do have him, I think 3 spots ahead of Golden, but that's what I could easily see changing. To be fair, now I don't have him wide receiver 3 in the rookie class. I've got him in wide receiver 6, so I'm adding 3 extra receivers. You mentioned I want to bring up the case of AJ Brown, that we falsely and wrongly discounted him in Dynasty rookie drafts because the spot was crowded, right? And it was Mariota. That situation changed so fast to Tannehill, and that became amazing. So this idea we're discounting Igbuka because the situation's crowded, we've gotten into trouble in Dynasty before by lowering guys too far. I think
so. Talent is forever. Talent forever. Situations change.
Exactly, and I think Igbuka showed as a production profile his superior to Golden, and he's the first rounder.
Oh yeah.
You can't even use that against it, but I still trust the profiles of Higgins and Burden more than Golden, even though they're second rounders, because we've seen it in the past. I mean, Kadarius Toney was a first rounder. Rashad Bateman was a first rounder. You're telling me, like, now we'd clearly rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown, much better production profile, especially over Toney.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I don't think it's that different. I mean, Toney's probably worse than Golden, but like you said it, Rahul, his production profile is historically bad for a round 1 receiver. So we shouldn't treat him like a normal round 1 receiver. We should be treating him. He should really be a second rounder based on that production profile.
I would love
treating him.
I'm going to stop the court, and I would love to bring the jury's question. Local football flavor had the same thought. I'm thinking, who is over?
Yeah, I'll go like working up from wider. So if Golden's at 25 and Igbuka, we also got some Godwin news. I'm coming up on Igbuka, but there it's like the slot primarily slot receiver without, in my opinion, too much yak ability versus what Golden could be. I think is more conducive for scoring fantasy points. But right ahead, so JMO at wide receiver 24, then Devonta, Worthy, Waddle, Odunze, Hunter, and then you probably guess the names that are above it. But that's kind of the tier of like, maybe not like, I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of similar names that I could see Golden producing that kind of what we see from all those players that I've listed. Just like, and maybe that's too like equivalent of like a body type comp, but like, I do think there's a good player in there, and like, this is wish casting too much. It's never gonna stand up in a court of law, but I really do think there's something to, we're seeing players transfer to bigger schools far more regularly than ever in the past. And I do think there's like, we are probably going to see a lot of like our data change like in the next couple of years for rookie drafts as more potentially of these kinds of profiles break out against the grain, just because of like what NIL and COVID has done to like, I guess the college scene. So, I mean, that doesn't stand up. I said it myself. It's the worst best season, right?
I get what you're saying, right? Like, it's so many guys have stayed extra years that the next guys coming up can't break out because they're not getting opportunity.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey is like, honestly, his production profile is like a step below.
That's my comp,
right?
That was my comp, like statistically and profile wise. He seems very similar to Lad McConkey in my eyes.
I didn't bring him up because it would hurt my argument because he's amazing and we love him for Dynasty, right? But
Rahul, let me ask you this
last year because I didn't like the profile.
Before I make my judgment, you have Jordan Addison above or behind Matthew Golden?
Oh, I did have him above. This is
has to be
but this is pretty like I mean I do have Addison above. The suspension.
He's doing exactly what we want as a receiver to do, and he's a good touchdown producer, which I don't think is fluky. That's part of his skill set. I easily have Addison.
So I need to ask you a question. So you have a Buka above Golden?
I mean, in the last few days, maybe
You said
from
you
a
might
week-
want to cool down in the 25, a little
Yeah,
closer to like
yeah.
How about
Yeah.
Metcalf? Do you have Metcalf above?
So right below per these rankings, I had Golden and then Igbuka immediately below. Like that's how I had the rankings I presented to you.
Mhm.
Then Olave, Flowers, Ayuk. Then it starts Ayuk maybe started that veteran tier. Ayuk, we've talked about Ayuk enough, but then it's like McLaurin, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Devontae. Pickens is someone that's horribly misranked. Pickens should be higher than these rankings say, but that's kind of my thinking. It's like the young potential, and then I have those veteran receivers that I'm comfortable ranking behind Matthew Golden. I hope that answers your question. I do want to say one thing that actually might, probably does go against me. Kylie's kind of alluded to it. Like you just did not like Matthew Golden, like the prospect, the profile, which is a take that is shared by a lot of people on the internet, a lot of people who play Dynasty Fantasy Football. There could be a bit of a, Keon Colemaning of Matthew Golden going on. It's like very, very close draft guy, like 26 versus like, I don't know, 34, 35. But people just did not like Keon Coleman. And that makes like that ADV, artificial dynasty value that he has, a little more fragile. That's a case against Golden, but I think even like going through the rankings of above and like what I was thinking, the rankings below, I do stand by Golden at where I have him.
Okay, so
that didn't sound
Let us know in the
convincing
chat,
at all.
like where would you have Golden?
I need
Wide
to hear
receiver
the jury.
25 or 35. Let us know.
All the jury in the chat, please deliver your verdict, and I will take that into consideration.
I know local football
now-
flavors mentioning the situation should improve for Golden year 2. Like, okay, assuming Watson and Dubs, like those guys are both done at rookie contracts. The Packers could choose to just not re-sign both, like let both walk, and suddenly things are much more wide open.
So, well, gentlemen, that was quite the case. On one hand, we've got Rahul fighting for Matthew Golden, like he's already cracked your top 24 wide receivers, betting on talent, situation, upside, straight out of a Netflix reboot, right? Great point. You mentioned as the Packers' only first wide receiver since 2002. Also putting him over those aging vets in an offense that's going to take a step forward. On the other hand, we have Kyle. He comes in measured, raising real concerns about like depth charge, opportunity,
with his facts.
whether Golden is a dynasty trap disguised as a value stash, right? So this courtroom seems there's a lot of debate today. We've seen back and forth, but this one's so close. Like, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm not ready to rule definitively just yet. Like the evidence is strong on both sides, but I need more clarity. So the court will take a short recess while I deliberate in the chambers.
I guess check back under the video after the fact for maybe the comments. Okay, Jamie's gone.
Is this the trade of the week?
All right. Order in the court.
rolling?
Order in the court. Court is now back in session. I need you two
Okay.
to quiet down, or I will hold you in contempt.
Sorry, it was just such a lengthy recess. We didn't know what to do with
I said one more word out of you, you're in contempt, brother. So after carefully reviewing the arguments, the court rules in the case of Kyle versus Rahul in favor of Matthew Golden at wide receiver 35 in Dynasty. Ranking him at 25, that's premature hype. No production to back it up. I can't put him over guys like the Devonta Smith, Waddle, JMO, Worthy, even people like
He's not above any of those guys. But...
One more word out of you, brother. I'll put him more towards like the Josh Downs, the Shakurs, even the Reeds on the same team in that wide receiver 35 range. The ruling is that he should be closer. Like, I can't put him that high. So, Rahul, I hereby sentence you to 3 years of no championships for
Oh.
excessive prospect inflation. Court is adjourned.
All right. Well,
Man.
luckily, Jamie is only the judge, not the fantasy gods. But the fantasy gods have smiled upon us that one of us made a trade this week. So we're going to get to that in our trade of the week segment. Court is now closed. Dynasty Court has adjourned for this episode. But now we get to trade of the week. This is a 12-team Start 10 Dynasty League, Superflex PPR. Fairly conventional. 3 pieces on one side, 2 on the other. J.K. Dobbins, Tucker Kraft, and a 2026 second-round pick. For Kyren Williams and a 2026 third-round pick. So, I guess, do I be transparent and say I made this trade? I guess I'll say that. I just said it now. So this is the trade I made. Do you guys want any context beyond what is shown on screen?
What are like the pick values that we should know about? Sorry, did you say that?
Well, yeah. So I am getting the third. The 26 second does not belong to the team that is trading it away. So that team acquired an additional second. So sending away Dobbins, Kraft, and someone else's second to get Kyren and the manager's third, who is selling Kyren.
I mean, is it an early second, mid second?
So the second that was traded away that team this year was the 110. I believe they've been to 3 straight finals.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I mean, I think this is honestly a trade that I could see like the vision for both pieces. There are a lot of people who rate Tucker Kraft very highly. I mean, clearly I had him over David Njoku, but I do think there's a lot of steam on that side with like the pieces that are being acquired. I think climbing a bit on J.K. Dobbins as the offseason goes on. That being said, I think Kyren Williams, while a bit of a troublesome name in the Twitter streets, the production that you're likely to get from Kyren Williams, start 10, it's kind of bordering the line, but I think Kyren Williams still has a pretty good shot to finish the low-end RB1, high-end RB2 in the upcoming season. People might not like to admit, but Kyren Williams is probably more likely to, and from what I've been hearing, they are looking to work out a contract with Kyren Williams. He could be on this Rams team for longer than people expect. So I think for a contender, I don't mind paying this kind of price for Kyren Williams. I wouldn't mind adding Dobbins and Kraft in a late second to my team, but if Kyren Williams is like, get the best player in the deal, and I think Kyren Williams is by far the best asset in this deal.
So I'm the biggest Kyren Williams hater you'll ever meet in your life.
Yep, that is true. Verifiable fact.
So I'm breaking down this trade, right? I would give a third for Dobbins, right? Tucker Kraft, I think he's worth a second. So you're giving up 2 seconds for Kyren Williams. Give me Kyren Williams all day in that situation because he's still young. They're in contract talks. They're negotiating a contract, and I don't believe McVay is going to give him a contract because past running backs, McVay doesn't extend running backs. But when you have a running back like Kyren Williams and you keep him on the Rams, I have to put Kyren up at, let's just say, running back 12 if he gets like a 1-year extension, right? But if he doesn't get an extension, I'm putting him down at RB 18. But even at RB 18, I still like this deal. Because you're going to get a 1-year production of a win now team, and you're only giving up a late second and Tucker Kraft. And you're obviously giving up Dobbins, but you're getting a third back. So give me the Kyren side all day in this trade.
Wasn't sure. I know how much Jamie dislikes Kyren. Thank you, Matt, for stopping by. Apparently, I think, Jamie, you and I will be doing a mock draft with them on Monday. Potentially Rahul, too. I guess we could invite you as well if you wanted. They do Monday evenings, nights. We'll give you details after, but check out Parlay FF on the Fantasy Six Pack Network YouTube show, as you mentioned. So, yeah. Well, I guess I'll just say this. I got Kyren Williams. And this there wasn't much negotiation. I literally sent this offer out and was accepted. Now it's also this wasn't the first offer I sent out when looking at the trade block, but I noticed, and Jamie, you're in this league. I was looking at the trade block. Okay, just see who actually has put someone out there. And of those players in the block, who would I be most willing to buy? And two names stood out to me. One was Chase Brown. The other one was Kyron Williams. Without a clear RB2 on my team, I felt that is something that could help me compete, getting that clear RB2. Rather than Dobbins in that RB2 spot, let me put someone else. I tried to make this similar type of offer for Chase Brown and was countered with a first instead of a second, and I think Cam Scatteraboo instead of J.K. Dobbins. So would have to give up my first and give up a younger running back instead of Dobbins. Wasn't quite willing to do that for Chase Brown. Decided, okay, what can I do with Williams? Sent this offer out and it got accepted. So sometimes I think the lesson I want to share is don't be afraid to go send out offers. Because if I could have just, this might not get done. I sent it out anyway, and sure enough, it got done.
And like you said, you saw what was on the trade block, right? So what I did is I looked at my trade blocks and I saw Judkins on the trade block in a league, and I'm like, you idiot. I'm going to give you a second. And the dude accepted it like within 5 minutes. I'm like, my second's going to be late. Like, you just gave me Judkins for the 211 next year. Dummy.
And if your team's strong enough, you might not need Judkins to make that a reality and compete.
Six games. That's it. 6 games. Whip-de-doo. I'll wait on that.
I mean, he's not under contract right now. There is a chance he never plays a football game. It's a minimal chance. It's a minimal chance, but that is a chance. The Browns could just say
the Browns. They got Kareem Hunt. They got Deshaun Watson. They got that second-round pick guy last year.
And all the backlash they've gotten from that has encouraged them to continue to do those things, right?
Yeah. So screw the Browns. They make bad decisions.
That is true.
He's going to play, whether it be on the Browns or another team a year from now. It doesn't matter. The dude's talented. You can't deny that. You're getting him at the 107 before this news. I just got a whole round and a half discount on him.
One thing I was going to say last week was, man, that trade we talked about a couple weeks ago where I moved up and down the board a couple times in a salary cap contract league, had to give up a couple seconds to get a bunch of thirds back just to move up one spot. I'm really happy I did that because I probably was going to take Judkins at 106. So moving all that up just to get Travis Hunter, I'm even more happy about now.
Mm-hmm.
So, all 27 of my leagues, I didn't take Judkins once. This is my only Judkins share.
You know what? And now, honestly, now would be the time to buy in theory because you can go rather than spend a first like you just did in rookie drafts. If you get attainable for a second, it's a reduction in price. It is a buy low. Is he someone you want to buy even buy low? Well, that's each manager to decide themselves. Clearly, Jamie decided that, and clearly I decided. The other motivation for me wanting to make this Kyron trade now is exactly what you're talking about. If he has a contract extension that is a multi-year extension, can I get this price for Kyron?
Nope.
Is this the sell price right now when he doesn't have the extension? So if I had waited, maybe I wouldn't be able to get this trade done. So I also think getting it done before the extension while there's risk might have been the only way to actually get the trade. So that's also just question here, and we'll end out here with drop the mic dropping this question on us right at the end. What are you paying for Fields and Superflex? I'm hesitant to pay a future first, so I would say
early second. Yeah. Early second is what I'm trying. I'd be trying to. It's probably tough to get him cheaper than that now, but
I would say a second and something. I'll give a 26 second and a lesser
third
quarterback or a position player they're looking for if it means getting that quarterback I want. But I'm hesitant to give up a first.
Yeah,
same.
And that's exactly what I said. Well,
he didn't ask you, Jamie. He just said Kyle Rahul, so he clearly doesn't care.
Earlier about it, and I said the exact same thing: early second, or like 2 mid to late first, or mid to late seconds. So
2 seconds or a second, another piece. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. I think that's a fair price.
Or late. I'm willing to give up 2 late seconds for Fields, or I'll give up an early second. But the dude that Mike's trying to trade with is trying to trade rate for him, getting a 20.
You don't use that word here. Order in the comments.
27, 26 or 27 first and a second on top of that. No, you don't.
Trying to make
you
him
don't.
overpay. That's people do with the. You're going to get that in dynasty trades, right? Like not all trades are as easy as just send it in and it gets accepted, right? Like that was pretty rare. And like that doesn't happen to me all that often. I guess that's why I wanted to showcase the trade so much. Is
But
that
I
example?
do want to say I am not selling Fields unless I get a late first.
And I think that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
People who have him value him there, and if you're trying to buy him, you want to buy him for less than that. So your sell price is usually higher than your buy price. So that's just kind of natural human emotion. So you just find where that converges, and you find someone whose sell price isn't all that much higher than their buy price, and is willing to sell him for 2 seconds. So yeah, and like Mike's saying, 27 first and a 26 second. Yeah, that's too much for me. I wouldn't pay that for Fields, and I love Justin Fields, but.
It's about a first too much there.
All right, so not to go say we're gone too much time. We're still under 2 hours, but man, these fun episodes, we've had so much fun that they've run a little long, but that's okay because we'll be back next week to talk more Dynasty Fantasy Football. You've got our Twitter accounts on screen. So I'm at Senra Says, Rahul, it's not on screen, but it's at Small Talk FF. Jamie's at Perog. You can interact, reach out. I know people trying to get comments. You can also comment on the YouTube videos. So head over to the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. Read all our videos. If you have an account, you can leave a comment, and like I think, may as well subscribe, like the video as well. Great way to support. Subscribe if you're listening on the audio podcast as well, wherever platform you're at. Check out the fantasy6pack.com, Fantasy Six Pack Discord as well. Free access to a lot of things, but there's also the all access membership, some premium content. We have a promo code for that. F6P Pods. Fancy Six Pack Pods. So F6P PODS, all letters capitalized, Arabic numeral 6.
Double P.
Yeah, double P. Not triple B, the blood-brain barrier. But it makes me think of using my
Big
brain.
baller bland. No.
Fantrax.com/fantasy six pack for our partnership with Fantrax. So, any parting phrases, guys?
Rahul, I'm sorry, I beat you.
No, that's okay. I gotta say, at the end of the show, for anyone that bared with us for 2 hours, is Kyle. Like we went through some of the players and takes that I do feel very towards the middle on. I do love David Njoku. I'll stand by my golden ranking, but I think fair play to both of you. Make great arguments that have caused me as well to turn my mind and how I evaluate situations. So great job and great show as always. Always a blast.
And Kyle, congrats on being a great loser and also winning. But with that said, arguments have been heard, the rankings debated, the court has spoken. Until next time, draft wisely, argue responsibly, and remember, in Dynasty Court, the truth always gets the final word. Court is adjourned.
Although I would say the final word is check out every Wednesday, 9 p.m., 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, wherever Rahul is. It's the Dynasty Six Pack. We'll see you again. Bye for now.